Every who down in Who Newville liked the holidays a ton, but where to get great prices on gifts they had no idea. None. They searched and they searched for great gifts under $25. Gifts for spouses and friends and even their toddlers. When suddenly one who shouted, Walmart has what you want, knowing they have Lego, Tree Hut, and no prices to flaunt. So they enjoy the holiday season as who's often do. Cheering and shouting, Walmart has incredible gifts. Who knew? Find gifts they'll love under $25 at Walmart.
There is no hood like parenthood. Hi, I'm Kanika Chadda Gupta. I'm a former CNN journalist, mom of 3, including twins, and host of That's Total Mom Sense, the podcast. Now, if I had $1 every time I heard, gee, you have your hands full. On my show, I interview change makers on their life lessons, legacy, and superpower of intuition, which I call our mom sense and dad sense. I've had the privilege of working with Mom 2.0, March of Dimes, and the White House, and I've had some pretty amazing parents on my show.
Hey, what's up? I'm Kelly Rowland.
Hi, this is Chelsea Clinton.
It's me, Bobby Brown. Can't wait to share my story.
That's Total Mom Sense is a production of the Evergreen Podcast Network. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube so you never miss an episode. To join my tribe, visit that'stotalmomsense.com and follow me on Instagram at Kanika Chadda Gupta. Now let's dive into today's episode. Welcome to the design series on That's Total Mom Sense. As parents, we know a well-designed home isn't just about aesthetics. It's about functionality, organization, and comfort for the entire family. In this series, I'm talking to industry leaders and diving into all things home design, from decorating your interiors to maximizing closet space and finding the perfect mattress. I'd like to give a special thanks to my brand sponsors, California Closets and Naturepedic, for helping families create spaces that they love and using products that are safe and sustainable. After all, home is where the heart is. Now let's design a life that makes sense. With the new year comes this natural inclination for us to be out with the old and in with the new. And this resonates with me so deeply because we just moved into our new home. I got to dive into all the facets of the design process, like the look and feel of our exteriors to the architecture and layout, which took a little over a year from start to finish. Are you looking to renovate or design spaces in your home? Then this is the episode for you. Today, I am joined by Nina Magon, a globally renowned thought leader in the design world. As the founder of Nina Magon Studio, she and her team create luxurious residential, commercial, and hospitality projects, including their own product designs. Her edgy and daring aesthetic infuses her signature style by using bold elements, color, and timeless modernity. She's been featured in Architectural Digest, Elle Decor, Interior Design Magazine, Hospitality Design Magazine, The Wall Street Journal, and Forbes, to just name a few. In 2022, Nina won the gold, silver, and bronze for Best Product Design in New York's prestigious BD&Y Awards, launched a collection with Bergdorf Goodman, was a finalist in the BOY Design Awards, was Lux Magazine Reader's Choice winner, and won Entrepreneur of the Year by the Asian Chamber of Commerce. Nina's first interior design coffee table book, Evoke, published by Powerhouse Monticelli Press out of NYC, released in September of 2023 during New York Fashion Week. Nina lives in Houston with her husband and 2 kids, and we're going to get into all things design, her life story, and motherhood. Nina, welcome to That's Total Mom Sense.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here and very excited because I've been following Mom Sense ever since I heard about it, and I'm very impressed by what you do. So I'm very happy and thrilled to talk to you.
Oh, I appreciate it. And I can't wait for the audience to get to know you so intimately. So let's start from the beginning and just set the stage for us. You really had a cosmopolitan view as a child and have traveled the world. So tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up and, being a young Nina.
So I started, I was born in Regina. I guess I was
Yeah.
born in Regina, Saskatchewan, which is a very, very small town in Canada. And my dad had migrated, and my mom and dad had moved from India to Regina, Saskatchewan. So my brother and I were born. I am the younger one of just two. And, from there, we moved to Calgary. And I was lucky enough to be in the Calgary Winter Olympics in '88. I got to ran the torch, which was very cool. I was very young, but super cool. And then we moved to Houston when I was 14. And so I was one of those people when we moved to Houston, I was the one who was wearing like Vans sneakers with the low rise jeans, and very weird for me to move from Canada to Houston. It was a big culture shock. But obviously, I am from an Indian background, living in Houston's for quite a bit now.
That's wonderful. So what were some of the life lessons that your parents taught you and, even your siblings?
So, one of the things that we were taught at a very young age is, good or bad, nobody remembers number two, only number one. We're from a very driven Asian American family. We were always taught to whatever we do, we should do it to the best of our ability. And, as I try my best on a daily basis to kind of make that happen, but it becomes difficult sometimes because, life gets in the way. But yeah, that is something that I was taught very, very young because my dad is a PhD in engineering. He has his doctorate in engineering and he's an MBA who worked in oil and gas and then moved into the real estate sector.
Amazing. Oh my gosh. So he was the king of the pivot. So of course, you had this example to follow. And,
Mhm.
what was it like for you? Because you've worked, in many different industries and actually thrive in the risk taking behind it.
Yeah, I can tell you a little bit about how I started. So I am an economics and finance major from Southern Methodist University in Dallas, Texas, and from there, or while I was studying there, I was taking fashion classes at the Art Institute of Dallas because I thought I wanted to be a fashion designer. So I was learning how to sew, and I really was doing all the fashion shows at school, and that's really where I thought my mind and my future was heading. Funny enough, as soon as I graduated from SMU, I opened up a European lingerie store thinking that I want to compete against Victoria's Secrets. Because at that time they had not renovated their stores. And I said, there was a new wing of the Houston Galleria that opened up. And I said, you know what, I want to try and do something very different from Victoria's Secret. And that was what I felt was missing in the market at the age of 22. And so, I started, I designed the store. I actually hired an architect and a designer to design my store. And it was interesting because I didn't realize how much merchandising is a part of selling and a part of retail. So, I was more interested in merchandising the store to see what sells more so than the actual underwear inside of the store. And, I would have fashion shows in the store and I partnered with, do you guys remember the shoe store Aldo?
Of
Um,
course. Of course.
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
So I think they're still around.
Yeah, they're
So
still around. Yeah.
Aldo in the mall had partnered with me so they would wear the shoes. So imagine like an Indian girl from a very conservative family is, having lingerie stores.
Yeah.
So, I mean, everybody wanted to come because I was so young. So all of my friends would come to the shows and they would love it, especially the guys would come, they would love it.
Yeah.
And so we
Yes.
would have models and stuff. It was super fun. But, just retail hours, buying was one part of it, was going to market and buying for the store. But the other part was actually running the store and managing the store. And I guess people don't realize that when you're in retail, you have retail hours and you're required by the mall to open at a certain time. So during Christmas, sometimes I would be in the mall from 7 a.m. all the way to midnight, 1 o'clock while all my friends were partying. So 2 years of that went And I thought, the only way I can make big money in this is if I open multiple locations. And then I thought, what a headache, because opening multiple locations of retail wasn't necessarily meant for me. Not that it's a bad thing, it just wasn't meant for me. And so, reluctantly, I ended up closing the store. And it was after 2 years. And because I had an opportunity by the mall to either go, they call it a temporary store, that until you prove yourself, or if somebody else wants the space, they can let you out, or you have to prove yourself. So after 2 years, they told me, we can make you a temporary store. But with that, the rent went from, say, 5,000 to 35,000. And so I thought, I'm not sure if this is worth it anymore. So, I reluctantly closed down the store at 24. And I said, okay, I'm not sure what I want to do. So I joined my parents' business of multifamily real estate and started working in that. Now, we were in a boom in Houston. So I said, I'm really interested in building houses because I'm watching all these builders building these amazing houses. So let me build a house. Why not? Right. So I
Yeah.
hired a superintendent for a fairly good amount of money. And I told him, I bought this piece of land. I want you to teach me how to build a house, right? So we hired an architect, we were looking at floor plans, and I kind of learned on the job about how to build a house because I had a teacher who was with me every single day for, I think almost 14 months until the house was built. And, it was a very interesting experience for sure. I learned with him. I ended up going to school right after that because the house sold before it was even completed. And I had made more money in that one house than I made in 2 years working in design. So I said, hey, this is a great idea. Maybe I should build houses. So people were praising the interior design of the house, that who built this house? It's amazing, the interior design. Who's the designer? And at that time, it was super traditional. And I said, I designed it. And they were like, oh, you should go and look into interior design. And I said, what is that? I've never even heard of that before. So I discovered that there was interior design at the Art Institute of Houston, started taking classes there, and then started hiring my instructors to be my architects for the houses that I was still building. And then obviously the bust came and the houses slowed down. And so I went to interior design school to do that. And then I started designing friends' bathrooms, living rooms, like little things here and there. People would start telling, oh, you should talk to Nina. She'll design your kitchen. All super small stuff, and the whole time my parents were like, you could be in real estate, but you want to design bathrooms and kitchens. What are you doing? And so I said, but this is what I really like. So I opened up a company. At that time, it was called Contour Interior Design. I thought it
Okay.
sounded I was like, oh, I like French people. I think it sounds French. So
Yes, yes.
after that, it changed eventually to Nina Magon Studio. But, I started off and then all of a sudden I had my daughter. Well, not all of a sudden, I had my son and then I had my daughter. And after I had my daughter, I had a dream that I wanted to be on HGTV. So they were having tryouts for Design Star. It was like an HGTV show. And I said, I want to try out. So I went to Austin to go try out for the show. And I got kicked out on the third interview. But I guess my video was floating around. So all of a sudden, like a couple months later, I got a call from NBC saying that, would you be interested in being on this television show, American Dream Builders? And I said, what is that? And they said, it's like Extreme Home Makeover meets The Apprentice, and you're going to be renovating houses and it's a competition. I said, wow, this sounds amazing. I would love to be on the show. So I flew to LA for the auditions and then I made it. So there was 10 of us who were on that show. And I was the least experienced. I'd only done bathrooms and kitchens and stuff like that. And there are people who were on the show were from magazines. They'd already been published multiple times. And I remember thinking at that time, I wish I was published in a magazine. I wish I could be, in a magazine. Like, this is amazing. Like, these people are amazing. I was very intimidated from all of them. But what was interesting is I was still there and they kept on leaving in this competition. And I stayed on until the finals. Then I was let go, tied for second runner up. And then obviously when I got off the show, I was praised for a lot of my work, not only from the judges, but from, I guess, US in general. And it
Mm-hmm.
built my confidence a lot. So that show for me was kind of life changing. After that, I got Saks Fifth Avenue. I'd never done a restaurant, got Saks Fifth Avenue. All of a sudden, all these doors started opening for me. And, and that's kind of been my motto is you just don't know what's going to happen in the future, because one door opens another door. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today.
Yes. Oh my God. That is incredible. Incredible. I love that you were, the underdog and you faced your imposter syndrome, something that we all have. A friend of mine who's been on the show, Allison Reedy Williamson, she calls it the itty bitty shitty committee. And that's the voice in your head being like, oh my gosh, like all these, contestants or whoever it is are so much better than me. But
Mhm.
you prevailed and you showed, the proof was in the product and like your skills, which is just amazing to see. And I think, all of our listeners can learn from that. But wow, what a story. I want to ask what your pinch me moments are because you've designed for just prominent families and projects. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I mean, I've had many pinch me moments in my career. Obviously, being on the show was one of them. And I remember on the first day of that show when I had cameramen and people following me, I remember telling myself, I just want to get kicked out. I want to leave. I want to leave. I just want to leave this. I don't want to be here anymore. And I remember calling my parents and my husband saying, I really want to leave. I have to leave now. And my husband told me, you will not leave until they tell you to leave. So I was praying on that first elimination that I would get eliminated because I just wanted to leave, right? I didn't feel like I was good enough. I didn't feel like I knew what these other people knew. I didn't feel like it was disheartening for me, the anxiety that I was feeling. I just wanted to get out of there. But, you know, towards the end when the last two contestants were fighting for who gets me, because there was two finalists, I got eliminated right before and they get to pick who they want on their team. And they were basically fighting for which one gets me.
Oh,
And it's all,
oh my
all
god.
on
Oh my God. I love it.
so
I love
that
it.
for me was a pinch me moment. We had done the bid for Saks. We didn't get it the first time. The guy who got it failed, and then we were the backup, and we got Saks, right? Um, that was another pinch me moment for sure. Obviously, we work for the royal family in UAE, one of the royal families in UAE, to get a project like that again. That same feeling. And then obviously the most recent one was my book launch. I got Monticelli, who's one of the biggest publishers out of New York. It's Monticelli and Phaidon have combined now. And they published my book. And I took it to them. They said yes on the first go round. And they, major publisher, publishing your first book. They believed in me, which is just, I think it's just being a designer, you're creative, it's subjective, not everyone necessarily thinks one thing is good. And so for people to give me credit and say, hey, you did a great job, for me and being a designer, that's everything. That's what you look for is people who are credible, right? And then on top of that, I had pictures of myself. I have to send you a book.
Yes.
So
Oh my
you
God. I
can
can't
see,
wait. Oh,
yeah.
it's
But, I
going
have
right on my coffee table. I can't wait.
please, I would love that. So, to do an iridescent cover, to have pictures of myself in the book, people were like, why do you have pictures of yourself? And it's because fashion was one of my biggest inspirations in interior design. And then to do the book launch with B&B Italia on Madison and with Balmain during New York Fashion Week in New York and have, all the CEOs and have 400 people attend, obviously for me, that moment I will never forget for the rest of my life. Maybe for other people, these are small moments. This was not a small moment for me. This was something very real and very big for me.
Yes, absolutely. Because you really designed your life, and you, again, took those risks and were scrappy and like became this global thought leader. just bit by bit, which is really, really inspiring. So let's zero in on our listeners and how they're designing their spaces, because we don't come with your set of eyes and your vision. So we want to just download whatever tips you can give us. So, what are some essentials to have when we're designing a living space from scratch?
So it obviously there's differences between designing a room from zero, from scratch, and differences between a renovation. If you're
Mm-hmm.
designing from scratch, obviously, I would think that that would be a new house.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of the main things that people need to realize when they design is like, what is the space used for? What is the functionality of the space? Is it just for family to sit and watch TV? Is this an entertainment space? How many people do you want to entertain? Is there going to be we call it a program. So for every space in the house, we create something called a program. And that is, what are the spaces in the house that a client wants? And what is the use of that space? We're designing a house right now where it's a game room, but it's a media room, it's a game room, and it's a bar. And so how do we make this space into three different spaces inside of one? And so, one of the first things is, what is the use of the space? Once you find out what the use of the space is, then you have to figure out, okay, if it's multi-purpose, do you want a sofa that faces two directions? Do you want one facing the media TV? Do you want one facing the bar area so that you could have a gathering of people with the bar drinking while there's a certain number of people, say, watching the football game? That's one of the things. Main thing is what is the functionality of the space? How many people are going to be in that space? How many people at one time do you want seated in the space? Do you have kids? So if you have kids, you want to make sure there's no sharp corners. Everything should be rounded. You want ottomans. You don't want anything glass, or even marble for that matter, because you don't want someone to knock their head into it. There's so many questions that have to be asked when designing a space, because it's not as simple as we're just going to put a sofa with a table, which in theory is pretty simple. But if you really think about the usage of the space, I feel like these spaces are so much more universally used, which I think is important.
Yes, yes. And then what about cultural elements? Both of us are Indian. I definitely want to incorporate maybe it's like paisley prints or something that's, inherently desi in certain parts of the home. And one thing that I want to touch on is you have such a dynamic, eclectic team. They hail from all over the world. So touch on that, because when you work on a project, you're going to get input from someone from Germany and Brazil. Like it's just amazing.
Yeah. So, one of the things that I pride myself on, specifically for my studio, was that, early on, I decided I wanted to have a very international team. So they're all based in Houston or Austin, but they're all from different backgrounds. So they've actually been educated differently. One girl is from Madrid. She has an architectural degree from Madrid. One is from Venezuela. One is from Brazil. One is from Colombia. My creative director is from Colombia. We have a girl from Korea, from China. And the reason that I hired this way on purpose was so that, every country has different aspects of design that they focus on. Some people are very modern, some people are very traditional, where they play on old architecture or ancient architecture. And I think that it's so important to get all views of design, because design is not singular. It's very multifaceted, and there's so many layers of design. And I think that we get this global approach so that, it's not as simple as just putting a beige sofa. There's so much more to it. And, we have design meetings every Monday. And in the meetings, people can say, hey, I don't like that. If we're talking about a project, we think, I saw this project at this show in Paris, and we think we should use that product in this house. And so we have to set ourselves apart somehow. And that's basically based on education and on travel and understanding the world.
Right. Right. I love that. Can you give us just tips on high-low, like some of your go-to retailers? And that way, we have an understanding.
So, we really don't shop as much retail. We do everything from the manufacturer. So we go direct to the manufacturer. But if you are shopping retail, and you want something inexpensive to do something really nicely, CB2 is great. They're adopting the modern way. Things are more curved. There's have some beautiful stuff. I hate to say this, but Restoration Hardware, we don't really shop too much there and we try to go against it. But, their new modern collection, I mean, they're researching, and I know they opened up in Europe now. And so their sofas are becoming lower. They're not as bulky anymore. Things are becoming more organically shaped rather than so, you know, square. And so, people are adopting and adapting to, more of my style of design. So, obviously me not being a traditionalist living in Texas, we were already going against the grain. And so, part of our job is educating the clients, like this is what design could be. Because actually in the design world, there's two very distinct differences. There's a show called High Point, which is in North Carolina. And then there's a big show in Milan called Salone. So we call them either you're the Salone designer or you're the High Point designer.
Okay.
Both are fantastic markets, but very, very different. One is very forward thinking, very art focused, which is Salone, which is more European. And then one is High Point, which is very, I would probably say more American style.
Yes, yes. No, and
Yeah.
I know about that. Just North Carolina really is a hub for furniture and textiles. So that's interesting that they have a trade show there.
Both have great stuff. Yeah.
And what are some features for kid spaces that are still aesthetic but functional? Because again, our listeners who have young kids definitely want it to be childproof, but not with all the like too many pops of color and busy looking. So like, how do we find that balance?
Obviously, it depends on the age of the kid. I love neutrals for kids' rooms. I don't necessarily say you have to go blue or pink. Maybe you want to go neutral because then it's more multifunctional, especially when they grow up. Like for instance, my son's room has Italian furniture in it, but the tables are rounded. Obviously, he's older now, but the tables are rounded. But he kind of grew up into his room. But he has a basketball net. But again, me being his mom, I picked like this designer basketball net. I was like, coming from it, and he's like, okay, like this is crazy. But
Yeah.
I like it. It works for him, and so I'm always looking for the new cool stuff. But I think that, if you're designing kids' room, it depends on the age of the kid. If the kid is super small, I love where you can have like a little tree house in the room. It has a slide, and then underneath there's a bed, which is very fun because it becomes their playroom, bedroom. And then obviously for older kids, you obviously have to have a desk. But it should be them. It should be very unique to them so that they feel comfortable in the room. Like my son loves sports. So on his wall, he has all his famous players. We got one of my friends to do an art piece for him. So he sees all his inspirational, like, sports players in huge painting on his wall. And then he has a basketball net. Then he has a rug that looks like a basketball. But then I have my European furniture in it. So I know he can grow into
Right.
it.
Yes.
So
Oh,
it's
that's
kind
so
of like
great.
mixed. It depends on the style of the person.
Yes, yes. And then are there materials to consider that are a little more durable, stain proof?
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a material called Krypton. And basically, these are all commercial grade materials that are used for
Mhm.
residential. So it still has the soft qualities of something that you would want in residential. But what's nice is it has some kind of polymer plastic inside of the material where if you pour water on it, the water just kind of slides off and then you can dab it. And so this is really important, especially if kids. You want to have commercial grade material that is very readily available for residential homes now. So that if you love to drink wine and you have a white sofa, make sure you not only have that material, but you also want to stain guard it.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. So now let's talk trends. It's all about the open format for residential and commercial now. Office spaces, restaurants, you get a full view of what's in front of you. Do you think that this trend will last? Where, it's not like compartmentalized rooms, like we just want everything to be fluid and flow into one another when you see rooms, especially for residential.
I mean, I hope so. I hope so because I think that what I like about, well, this open floor plan really became prevalent after COVID,
Hmm.
because everybody was kind of together in their house. And, it's interesting. It became more prevalent after COVID, but at the same time, people started home officing. So they
Right.
wanted an office where they could shut the door rather than being in an open area. Now, I love open floor plans because it's forward thinking, it's modern. The more open your floor plan is, the more you feel like everyone is included in the space rather than segmenting spaces. I love it. I think that families want to be together now. One person could be working on their computer. And with these open floor plans, we're doing floor plugs in almost every
Mm.
room so that you don't have wires going into the wall. You could be sitting on your sofa, you just plug into the floor. So all these things for with open floor, it's just not just having an open floor plan, it's what's the functionality of the open floor plan. Obviously for Indians, having open floor plans can be a little dangerous because of our cooking
Yes.
and our smell. So with that
Yeah.
open floor plan, it's interesting that show kitchens became a thing, and we started doing secondary kitchens where all the smell can go outside of the onions and stuff like that. And so there's more to open floor plans than just the open floor plan, that are becoming more prevalent after COVID.
Yes, yes. Um, and what about sustainability? I think we all are really conscious about our carbon footprint. Is there anything we should know about when it comes to being eco-friendly in our designs?
A lot of companies now, the products that they're creating are sustainable products. They are reusing things. They are using raw materials to create. Like for instance, Cosentino, I had a collection with Onerica. It's a fabricated stone collection, and that is made out of used material and raw materials to create a countertop. So I think a lot of these companies are creating sustainable because it's something that's very important right now with global warming and all the things that are happening in our environment. It is something that's very important. Another thing I wanted to say was Deepak Chopra had come out with this extremely interesting, it's air quality in the house. So you can actually attach these machines to your AC system, and it basically cleanses the air inside of your house so that you have clean air inside of your house, because they're saying clean air is something that's so important now,
Yeah.
to breathe it actually on a daily basis. And so different products like that are coming out, which I think are very interesting. I mean, this is not sustainable, but there's even a product where they have, like, it's a smell. If you want, when you enter into they have it on all the hotels.
Ooh,
Like
like
one of my
addition scent.
Yeah, you can have
Yeah.
whatever scent you want that goes through. So there was a scent that I love. It was at the Jumeirah Al Nasim in Dubai. And I
Hmm.
was like, what is this smell? It's everywhere and it's
Yeah.
going through your AC system, but it's like
Ooh.
amazing. I want to do it I don't know if I'm going to build a house again, but I want to do it in my next house or put it in this house, because I think that anybody who comes to that house, when you smell that, you're like, that's what it reminded me of.
Yes, yes, I love it. Yeah, and we can kind of
Yeah.
pinpoint when you're in a hotel.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if we could have just olfactory kind of nuances to our home, that is so cool and
Yeah.
so new age. I love that. Love it. Okay, let's talk motherhood, because I feel like, for those of us who are parents, we have this newfound purpose in life and we show up in the world in a completely different way after having kids. And, we spoke offline about this. I know this really resonates with you. So tell us about your journey becoming a mom.
Yeah. So When I went to on the television show, my son was 4, and my daughter was 1.5. And so I had to leave for 6 months to be on that show. For me, that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, because I thought, am I going to be able? And at that time, this was like 10 years ago. Remember, like being on TV was huge. Now there's
Yeah.
influencers and stuff like that. It was huge to have an opportunity to be on such a major network. And so, I had to decide, is this something that I can do? Can I leave my kids for 6 months? Um, and, obviously I saw them in between. But, that for me was a big sacrifice that I had to make for the career. But then did that make me selfish because I wanted to go on my career and I wasn't there for my kids? I heard all kinds of things like, is this the right thing? Is it not the right thing? It's very difficult in this day and age, even now, 10 years later, to be a woman, want a career, and be driven and ambitious, but then also not be criticized for being a bad mom, especially being an Indian, and being an Asian American. That, you know, how do we be ambitious? Like, I have an innate thing inside of me that's like, I have a bigger purpose. I'm trying to find that purpose right now. Something is calling me to do something great. And I wake up every morning excited to go to the office, excited to work. Does that make me a bad person? Does that make me a bad mom? And that's something that I've struggled with since I started my career, is that, am I good? Am I bad? Is it okay for me to be ambitious? Because my husband can go be ambitious if he wants to. Um, there's nothing that society says is wrong for him to be ambitious, but why is it wrong for me? And this is something I've struggled with for a very long time. But then I think about it and I think that, I have a daughter who is now 13 years old. She sees her mom do it all. She sees her mom cook, clean. Yes, I have a nanny, but I
Mm-hmm.
still
Yep.
clean. I'm still there for them. I still run their schedules. I do the best that I can as a mom. Is there balance? Absolutely not. We talked about this,
Right.
offline. No such thing as balance. There's no such thing. And anybody who tells me, oh, you need to balance your life, I want to essentially give them the middle finger because
Yeah.
it's not
I'm with
true.
you.
No such thing. You have to just see what works best for you and what makes you happy, because being a mother doesn't mean we give up ourselves.
Yes.
I
Yes.
think we need to
Exactly.
get rid of that thought. We are also people. My daughter will one day be a mother. Does that mean that she has to give up her wants because she's a mom now? Like, no, absolutely not. And
Right.
I think that's something that we really have to focus on society, that it's okay to be ambitious and be a mom and be everything. And don't judge me, because what have you accomplished for you to judge me?
Yes, absolutely. I know. I think we get so much flack for this, and you aren't going to be able to please anyone anyway. So we all have to just, it's like, you do you. And I love showing up with that unapologetic confidence. It's really just validating. And I think, it comes down to, if we were to like really zero in, it's the non negotiables. So for you, what are they? Is it, I am always, without fail, going to be reading that bedtime story to my little one. I think we all have a non negotiable. Um, and the same way we show up for our team and in the workforce. So, what are those for you that you're like, I show up and I give my all when I do?
hmm So for me, it's really like, so my son is a golfer, my daughter is an actress, right? Yeah, my husband is all in on my son's golf, so he doesn't need as much attention from me when it comes to his golf stuff. When it comes to their studies, and her. So for her, she's an actress, so she likes to be in plays and stuff like that. I have to attend all her plays and I have to be there for them. Anything that has to do with studying and their education for me is a non negotiable. So I make sure that they have a tutor that comes in, that they go for their studying. I will take them, I will drop everything, take them to their studies, because for me, education in general is a non-negotiable. And so anything that disrupts their education for me is a no-no. And that even goes for me. I will never do something that could possibly disrupt any part of their education.
Oh, I love that. That's great. And it's really setting a precedent for what they're going to go on to achieve when they're adults. They know that there's a discipline around this. And what is a mom sense moment that you've had where you've just trusted your intuition? I feel like you kind of touched on one with the HGTV show. You know, you had your daughter at the time and you went with your gut on that one. But yeah, tell us, you know, moments that that has happened and you're like, oh, thank God I listened to my inner voice.
Yeah, it's happened actually many times on a regular basis. It happens, especially with the kids. My son, and he might hate me for saying this if he ever watches this, but he wanted to be a basketball player. But he has had a golf stick in his hand since he was 4 years old. And I told him, he said, Mom, I really want to be a basketball player. And I said, I understand that you want to be a basketball player, but your genetics don't say that may not be possible. I don't ever say that you can't do it, because you can do whatever you want. But, genetically, I don't know if that's possible, but you're so smart that you could probably excel in golf, and my husband and I both pushed that. And that was kind of like, we feel that this is what you should do, and we're going to guide you this way. And that was something that was telling me, I think this guy is going to do something in golf, and it's panning out for him. And it was the right call. Whether that's a mom sense or it's logical, I don't know. But sometimes mom sense comes from logic, where we have
Yes.
to think
Yes.
logically and say, this is what the truth is, and let's focus on the truth.
Yeah.
That was one thing.
Definitely.
And then my daughter, she's a fantastic dancer. But, she was like, I don't want to do this anymore when she was like 4 or 5. I don't want to be a dancer. I don't want to be in acting. I don't want to be on stage. And I pushed her and told her, no, you belong on stage because you're so awesome at it. And I mean, she just finished Annie, and she had a main part, and she did a fantastic job. And, sometimes it is mom sense thoughts, but it's also believing in what you think is right for your kid, because they don't know. They're going to say, no, 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 I don't want to do this. It's not right for me. And you're like, no, actually it is right for you. And, sometimes you have to have those really difficult conversations, sometimes fighting with your kids, explaining to them why it's right. But, I'm not the type of parent who just wants to sit back and be like, whatever happens, happens. No, that's not, you have to work for it. And I'm trying to explain to them that these are things that mom or dad knows better than you, and you have to listen.
Yeah, yeah, totally, totally. They just anatomically, their prefrontal cortex doesn't develop until 25,
Yeah.
and so they don't have the capacity, how they're hardwired neurologically to do it, so they need our guidance.
Is
Yeah,
it
and
25 or 29? Because that makes me like, no one should get married before
yeah, I know.
before
It's
that
20,
develops.
I mean, yeah, I had a child development expert tell me it was 25, but yeah, I think it's always molding. But yeah, there is, a point where it's like, okay, it's going to stay pretty static from here on out.
Yeah.
But yeah, when they are malleable, truly, as kids sub 10, sub 18, like they need their parents as their guides and their confidants and like those who are showing them the way. Okay, let's go into a fun rapid fire where
Okay.
we just get to know you
Oh,
a little
okay.
better. And yeah, it'll just be super cute. Okay, so what is a must have that we all need in our home?
God, like a nice kitchen.
I like it. Yes. Are
A
you
nice kitchen.
minimalist? Got it. Minimalist or maximalist?
Minimalist all the way. Less is more.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, I love it. Neutrals or pops of color?
Neutrals. I would have a whole house that's white, like a museum, if I could.
Yes. Oh my God. We have the same taste. I love it.
Yeah.
Biggest design faux pas.
uh, accent walls.
Ah, yes.
I hate
Oh my
them.
gosh.
I hate
Yeah,
them. Yeah.
totally, totally. So are you like wall painting, wallpaper, or none of it?
No, I love wallpaper. I love wall painting, but I hate accent walls.
Yes,
Like
yes,
commit,
yes.
whatever you're going to do, commit to it.
Yes, that's a really great point.
Yeah.
What is one overused trend that you've seen that you're like, this is not going to last, guys?
Brass.
Okay.
Even though I just did a whole restaurant in brass, so I should probably bite my tongue for saying that. But yeah, brass. Too much
Yes.
brass.
Okay. And a dream project we're manifesting now.
The entire Amman Hotel in
Mm,
a in a remote location.
oof. Love. Favorite place to travel, especially for inspiration.
In India.
Aw.
There's
A
nothing.
song.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Oh my gosh, I totally agree. The colors, the fragrances, it's just like all the
Yes.
stimuli. It's really, really
Yeah.
amazing. A song that you have on repeat that you just that's my jam.
Unstoppable. Unstoppable.
Yeah.
That's
Oh my god,
my
that's an
either that or
anthem.
like that Eminem song, the Eminem.
Yes.
What is that song called? He has so many good songs. I'm Not Afraid. Then there's the main one. I forget the name of it, but I listened to it. You Get One Chance.
Oh yeah,
Don't blow.
from 8 Mile? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah. Failure is not an MF option. Yes,
yeah.
we
When
got
I feel sad,
it.
those are the songs that are on repeat.
That's great. Oh my gosh. I can picture you in front of the mirror being like, let's go. Let's go. We're designing
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Kind
um,
of.
okay, two more questions. If there's one piece of advice that you could offer our listeners about making their home or office space just a little more beautiful, what would it be?
One is always add fresh flowers if you can. That always makes the space look so much better. Always add art, some kind of art that speaks to you, because you can have a room with white walls. If you have a nice piece of art, um, it's a conversational piece. It's something that brightens your day. I say art. Paint, update your paint. Simple things like don't call out your baseboards in a different paint color. Paint your crown molding, your wall, and your baseboards the same color, but make sure that the crown molding and the baseboard is in a satin finish, not a flat or matte finish like the wall. Just so if things hit it, you can clean it off. Um, I mean, add lighting. Lighting is key. If you can have different types of lighting in your space, that's amazing. You can have cans, you can have lamps. And if you are remodeling or building a new house, do not use 6-inch cans. Go smaller. Do 3-inch cans, 4-inch cans. Makes the space look much better.
Oh, wow. Oh my gosh. I know people are taking notes. And then the last thing is just a mantra or quote that you live by.
So long time ago, when I was in college, I saw Braveheart, and in there he said, "All men, not all men truly live, but all men die." So all men die, but not all men truly live. And that's actually in my office, it's on my wall, and it's something that's so very true. Is that how do we really live? We're all going to die, but who's going to live?
Oof, that really hit home. Oh, I love that. I think we can all use that takeaway. And the fact that you make the living space you live in so bright and, um, you know, inviting and inspiring to be able to show up in the world the way you do is amazing. And I think we can all learn from that. So thank you. Thank you, Nina, for
Thank
sharing your
you.
story with us.
Of course. And thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. Thank you.
Of course. Me too. Me too. Thanks for listening to this episode of That's Total Mom Sense. You can listen to the audio version wherever you get your podcasts. Just search for That's Total Mom Sense. You can learn more about my guests by logging on to www.thatstotalmomsense.com. Be sure to follow me on Instagram, where I'm most active on social media. My handle is @KanikaChaddaGupta. And if you have ideas for show topics or guests you can't wait to have on the show, write to me at thatstotalmomsense@gmail.com. And lastly, please rate, review, and subscribe to That's Total Mom Sense if you haven't already. Thanks for being in my tribe.